Oh, we're always going to
All right, I'm gonna declare the public hearing open at 6:04 p.m. And let's all rise and have long-term finance board member Diane Cinto lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the public hearing on our annual budget. I'm going to start off by introducing everyone. I'm Pete Hess. I'm the mayor. I'm on the finance board, and I'm on the board of education. Sitting all the way to my right in Garnet, Burgess Dorothy Neth Cunin. We have Burgess Rocky Vitale. We have finance board member Diane Cinto, finance board member Teresa Wasoka, Burgess Fran Dembowski, finance board vice chairman James Higgins, finance board chairman Ken Hanks, controller Allison Bruce. She'll be taking most of the questions tonight. Burgess Charlie Merengue and finance board member Steve Samella. On Zoom, we have Burgess George Mudry. We have Burgess former mayor Mike Bronco. We have finance board member Nicole Hiscock, Burgess Megan Smith. And I think that's it. Is that correct? That was it. All right, so tonight's public hearing, it's sort of the culmination of an effort that begins in January when every Monday night, the finance board meets and creates a budget. You know, Naugatuck is different from most towns. It's not like the mayor or the administration prepare a budget and submit it for review. Is created line by line by the finance board with the Burgesses in attendance to watch and add input. We put it together, we review it several times, then it's sent to the joint boards and they review it, and then it comes to the public for public hearing. So tonight is the night when anyone who wants can comment on the budget or ask questions. This really is a transformational year in Naugatuck because we are implementing revaluation in very interesting times. You know, the average residential property value in Naugatuck went up 40%. I'm going to say about 3,200 were less than that, and about 5,600 were more than that. And the problem is that reval impacts people in different ways. If you're a residential taxpayer and your value goes up well above average, you're going to be impacted by reval and your tax bill will be going up, not because expenses have gone up, but just because your valuation is greater than average. We will also be discussing the changes to the budget with appropriations, new appropriations, and the spending issues. So what we've done at the Burgess level, and this was just last week, in order to minimize the impact of revaluation and to try and make it as fair as we can, we're going to be doing a 3-year phase-in. And the phase-in is going to work 40% in the first year, 35% in year 2, and 25% in year 3. And what that does is that if your property has gone up more than average, it's gonna ease in the impact of revaluation on you. Conversely, if your property values have not gone up as much as average, you're gonna be costing yourselves a little money with a phase-in because you're not gonna be able to get the full value of your decrease all at once. So what we've done is we've come up with a plan to try and help the most number of people, number one. Number two, to really help those that are most vulnerable, people on fixed incomes and seniors. And we will be implementing an elderly tax credit with the tax bills, and all of that will be explained when the bills go up. And thirdly, for commercial properties, in industrial properties, and properties who will be paying less, we've set it up so that in year two, which is really only a little over a year away, you'll be getting to 75% in year two. So what we're trying to do with the phase-in is to help as many people as possible, to ease it in as best we can, to create extra help for seniors, and on Social Security, and also to minimize the amount of time that a business or industry will have to wait to get a tax decrease. So revaluation, especially in the times that we're in now, where property values have gone up so much and in so many different ways, changes the ballgame for the budget. So we've taken that into account, but that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. We're here to discuss our appropriations, the amount of money that we're spending, and I'm just going to give you a couple of trends, and then we're going to go through each section of the budget. So when I look at the budget on the town side, the first thing I see is that we have eliminated use of fund balance to help reduce the amount we're spending. And we're doing that because we want to attain a AAA credit rating, and we can no longer rely on fund balance money. And if you don't know what that is, think of it as a savings account. We've got a good size, healthy savings account, and we could use some of that to offset the expenses. But we've been told by the rating agencies that that is a negative point if we want to attain a AAA credit rating. So in this year's budget, right off the bat, we have a $1.5 million hit because we are not relying on a fund balance. The second thing I see on the town side is that our debt service is up 1.9 million. But that's not because we borrowed new money. That's because last year at the wastewater treatment plant, we hit year 20 and we had no payment for improvements to the wastewater treatment plant on our last 20-year bond. So last year we paid zero. This year we go back to our regular payment of $1.9 million, which is not really an increase, but it's an increase compared to last year because last year was zero. You'll also see, there are some inflationary type increases, insurance, utilities, things like that, but they're all pretty normal. And in my mind, on the town side, the rest of the budget is pretty normal. There are also similar increases on the Board of Ed side. I'm not going to comment on those, but if there are questions about it, we do have our assistant superintendent and business manager here who can answer any questions on the Board of Education side. So at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Finance Board Chairman Ken Hanks, and Ken is going to take you through each section of the budget. Make just a brief comment at the outset. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the budget section by section. And as each section comes up, we'll give the public an opportunity, either live or on Zoom, to make a public comment. So I officially turn the meeting over to Finance Board Chairman Ken Hicks.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Okay, just to make a note that this meeting is being recorded on Zoom. If any comments are going to be made, if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. Jim Kalfelitis, our key director, is monitoring the attendees that are on Zoom. We're going to go by section by section. If you have a comment on that section, either on Zoom or in person, we ask you to come up. Probably you don't have to stand in front of us, but it's the front row so the camera and microphone can hear you. State your name and address and your concerns, questions on the budget. We have multiple department heads here tonight, plus our controller Allison, who can answer any questions in detail. Okay. First department, the first section we'll start off with is administrative. Organizationally wise, it's one of the largest departments. It's made of 17 individual departments, and that includes administration, town hall, townwide activity, the finance department, probate, elections, tax department, property assessment, building department, information technology, town clerk, event center, Norfolk economic development, land use, legal, human resources, and projected union and non-union wage increases. The total request for the budget for next year is $376,025, with an increase of 6.67%. One note is on probate. We share probate with 2 other towns, and they are now in their new building over on Meadow Street. Do you have any comments, questions, or concerns about the administrative section of the budget? Do you have anyone online?
No.
Okay. Okay, no comments on that. With that, we'll move on to public safety. Public safety consists of police department, fire department, emergency management, the East Side Fire Station, safety patrol / CERT, and fire police. Total request for public safety is $13,507,388, with an increase of 4.86%. Any comments or questions on public safety? Jim?
No.
Well, we do have copies up here of the budget if you would like one. Thanks, Megan. Our next section is health and welfare, which includes social services, youth services, water pollution control board, and the senior center. The total request is $4,322,954 for a decrease of 1.56%. Okay. Next is the Department of Public Works, Operations and Maintenance, which also includes the engineering department. Total request is $7,408,343 for an increase of 5.33%. Comments? Yes, no.
No. Not gonna make it, probably.
Well,
He's probably not gonna make it.
No comments, Jim? Okay.
you think so?
Okay. Debt service, as Mayor Pete mentioned, there were some changes in debt service this year. Debt service also includes pensions, which is Social Security. We're still paying into the old pension fund, Medicare, and related expenses. The request is $3,339,108 for an increase of 0.65%. Insurance, which includes fire, theft, liability, workers' compensation, $14,782,648, for an increase of 1.12%. I'm sorry, decrease. That's a negative sign. A decrease of 1.12%. Thank you. Community services. Request of $1,868,363, for an increase of 6.8%. General non-departmental, $124,041, an increase of 6.72%. Reserve, which is the capital projects, $2,795,054, for an increase of 12.39%. Contingency is showing a decrease of 100%. And Allison, can you explain contingency? What we do with contingency fund?
In the, excuse me, in the past budget session, we set up in the fiscal year 2023, we set up what is called a contingency fund. And when we surplused the contingency amount from the prior appropriation, we were able to put it in the contingency fund. So we no longer have to budget for it. So it's no longer in our appropriation. So it's completely funded for future years as long as we don't need it.
Any comments? Nothing, Jim? Nothing. Okay. And then final, Board of Education, $67,185,698, for an increase of 3.91%. Any comments?
Yes,
Everybody? Just state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Barry Demcar. I'm at 144 Beacon Manor Road. My question is on this education budget, which makes up quite a bit of percentage of the town. Where has the school enrollment been at this point for the current year? Is there been
Melissa?
a head count down or up?
So the school enrollment trend has continued to rise.
Can you give me a number? What it's been?
At the end of March, we were around 4,300 students.
And what was that compared to the prior year?
It's a little over 4,000.
Because my concern is with significant increase in the budget itself, if our enrollments are staying pretty stagnant or not increasing significantly, we should be able to find some cut in the spending somewhere, especially on the administrative side and head counts.
Do you want to comment or?
Well, a lot of the net change in headcount is not necessarily at any one particular school. So if you had a large increase or decrease at a certain school at a particular grade, that's when you would have a large addition or subtraction of positions. The students that are coming in have different needs. We have a lot of students who are coming in that are English learners. And so we have a lot of additional needs for the students that are coming in. Our special education students, the number of special education students have gone up, there are additional needs for that. So sometimes you can't just look at the head count and the enrollment and have a direct correlation with the expenses.
Well, I guess my concern is still administrative costs are significantly high. And in that respect, you know, where do we get any areas where we can actually get any cuts in costs? You know, you're saying now we have so many different special service needs that we have. It's increasing our budgets significantly. You know, our enrollment is up, but it's not significant. You know, it's only a couple hundred at this point.
The large drivers that are in our budget increase, our salaries, we have actually in this budget cut 11 positions. So the salaries are even a large driver. Some of the largest drivers are tuition, out of district tuition. So we have expenses where we have students that move into the district or that are in the district and need to be placed in other schools. So that those expenses are increasing over almost $2 million. Our health insurance is increasing. Our transportation costs are increasing. Those are the kind of increases. that we
I
are
guess
seeing.
then the other question I have, don't we get significant funding from the state to help support some of those costs? I know there's a huge amount of state subsidies that come in that doesn't help us at all as far as keeping our overall education budget down.
We do get funding from the state. A lot of the funding from the state comes with very specific directives on what you can fund. So we do get increase in our alliance funding, but you have to spend it on certain things, on new initiatives. You cannot just supplant and just cover expenses that are already in the budget. You have to use new ideas and new positions or new development or things like that.
So you're saying it has nothing to do with trying to reduce the current budget that you put together. These are all extra things that the state comes in and funds.
It depends on what type of funding it is, yes.
Now, as far as the budgets go themselves, there was a thing where you have to maintain a certain level. I was a little confused with how that works on the education budgets. As far as the spending goes, you know, when you're trying to reduce the spending, like say in a year where that's where the say the enrollments were down significantly, is there a way to get these budgets lower than they are currently?
So because we are an alliance, because Naugatuck is an alliance district, the funding that we receive from the town has to be at least the same amount as last year, or more. I do believe there are special circumstances. If the enrollment dips significantly, then there could be a.
That they can allow. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
I just so you know, I had somebody, we have this information in our budget books that we were given. So I had someone snap it over to me. And let's see. And thank you, Nicole. 1819, 4,308. 1920, 4389. 2021, 4272. 2122, 4324. 2223, 4320. And projected 2324 is 4364.
All right, so it's staying pretty,
Pretty much goes down a little, goes up a little, but pretty much level.
because I'm, you know, again, I'm looking at it, a point of view, it's such a, the education budget's a significant percentage of the overall budget. It seems like, you know, there's no room to say, all right, how do you cut and get this budget down for the homeowners? Because that's my concern right now with the way this rebound is coming in.
There's a significant amount of students that go out of district. For 22-23, magnet, technical and agricultural, 371. Out of district, alternative education, 27. And those could be a $500,000.
I have other questions regarding the overall impact on myself, but should I wait to hear that comment or?
Go ahead.
All right, because I'm looking at myself significantly from even looking at the 40% phase-in the mayor's talking about. I'm looking at almost a 10% total percentage increase in my taxes. It's going to be close to $400. And that only includes the 40% phase-in. Now, you still have to do another 35 and 25.
Do you know what percent your home went up?
40 was roughly around 42%.
So it's about average.
Right, on the average, but my concern is, you know, now we're stuck here where we're getting, you know, 4% doesn't sound much in the overall total budget, But to the homeowner, you know, I'm looking at a 10% total dollar increase. And if I factor that into mills, it's well over 3, because you're proposing only a 3, lowering the mill rate by 3 mills. And
So
this is not
let me
even,
answer that. 3 mills this year, the projected mill rates are 44.75.
right, and that's what I
And
use.
then 40 point, I'm not sure the exact number, Allison, what is the second year? 40.27,
0.7, no, 0.7,
40.7.
40.7, third year, 38.35. So the mill rate is gonna go down 3 years in a row. We're gonna phase it in so it impacts more people. It's easier on more people. It's gonna be harder on some people, and there's no way to make it perfect for everyone. By the way, there's people now, even on the residential side, whose taxes go down a lot more than yours are going up. And they want us to implement it all at once so they can get
Right,
the decreases right away. So this is an exercise in balance and in fairness
so you,
and trying to help as many people as we can, but some people are gonna pay more.
so you're saying in the second year, it's gonna be what, 40 point?
The let me explain it exactly. The projection for year 2 is 40.70.
Okay,
Now, that assumes that the world's not gonna end, we're not gonna have a world war, another pandemic and things like that. And that assumes a normal increase in expenses of $1.5 million, which is, you know, pretty much average. In year 3, the mill rate is projected to go down to 38.35 with another additional $1.5 million in increased expenses.
well, when you say 1.5 million, I mean, our total budget this year is up 5 million. So how is that factoring into these?
As I said, this is a transformational year. 1.5 mills or 1 mill, 1.5 million is because the fund balance is no longer being utilized. So we can get shoot for a AAA credit rating. 1.9, so over 1 mil is that service because of what I said. Last year, we had a 0 at the wastewater treatment plant. This year, we go back to normal. So right there is 2.5 mils. You know, some of it is just plain inflation and
Right,
and then the rest of it is the Board of Education has their increases. And I'm not as intimately familiar with their budget as I am on the town side, but it's also a transformational year for them coming out of COVID, not being able to rely on federal money, having to switch over to basically town money and state money, and making an effort to eliminate a lot of positions. But it's a hard year for them as well. So, but that's, you know, I'll leave it up to them to defend their budget on the town side. The only thing that we could cut, first of all, I would never cut, which is increased expenditures on road paving. We're starting a new program to help homeowners with their sidewalks, and we're upgrading our playgrounds. On the town side, those are pretty much the only discretionary things that we could cut without impacting services. But I can tell you this, speaking for myself, there's no way I would cut them. The number one complaint I get every year for my entire tenure as mayor is the quality of the streets. And we're doing a lot to improve them, and we're doing a lot more, and we're budgeting even more in this year's budget. And we intend, I'm speaking for myself the Burgesses and probably everyone here, that we want to really upgrade our streets.
So you don't feel that the fund balance should be used to help the homeowners get a reduction? Now, you're saying the triple rating you want to maintain.
Here's what I feel, that we talk to the bonding agencies every year. And they have told us flat out that you have used in the past too much of the fund balance. We have a very healthy fund balance, about $12 million, 15 or 12%, I should say, of our budget. And 15% is what is recommended. So when I started, we were in much worse shape than we are now. There was a lot more use of fund balance, internal transfers. We were a distressed community, and now we're no longer distressed. We're on the rise. Our budget is much sounder. We stopped kicking the can down the road. We've been fixing roads. We've been fixing our equipment. Things that haven't been done for years and years and years have been being done gradually. So we're trying to implement a plan where we improve the town gradually, we improve the roads, and we make it better. And, that's part of the reason, that the property values are up higher than average. Also, just so you know, a lower bond rating means a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
So when you have a lower interest rate, that's a big deal. So it really helps us in our overall budget.
So that this next reval isn't gonna happen for another 4 years then?
That's the schedule right now.
So we're gonna be at the mercy of higher inflation prices at this point, and then.
Well, inflation is beyond our control.
Right, but
But
like I
as
said,
far-
right now,
As far as interest rates, we will be going out for bonding in August, and it's our objective to get as low a rate as we can.
all right, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other comments on Board of Education, or actually any other?
We have one on Zoom.
Going on Zoom, Jim?
Yes. Two, actually.
Okay.
Michelle was first.
Okay, Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm Michelle, 466 Allerton Road. I was just wondering, I know some people want the institution of that mill rate all at one time, but the majority of us cannot afford that. Is it definite that we are doing a 3-year phase-in?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
On last week by the Board of Mayor and Burgesses, it's definite. And we're also going to be implementing an elderly tax credit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
We have another one on Zoom, Scott Hess.
Okay, Scott, go ahead.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to confirm the projected mill for year one.
Well, year one is 4.75. That's not projected. That's what it will, if we implement the budget as it stands right now, the mill rate will be 4.75.
Okay, and going back to the last caller, unfortunately, my situation is in reverse to hers, so that was going to be quite a hit for me. Property tax wise, probably close to 2,600 a year.
I didn't catch that.
You said the taxes in what, $2,600?
How, well, I'd have to look at your situation, but do you know what percent your home went up in value? Did it go up more than 40% in reval?
Well, so I initially it did go up from 116,000 up to 188, which was quite significant. So I appealed that and got a revised down to 182, 210, which I would have, which was even better than that, but that's the best I could have done for that. So that's quite significant.
Hey, Scott, I'm sorry, what was your address?
15 Leclerc Court.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you will be helped some by the 3-year phase there.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
There's, Shar is also out there.
So who's that, Shaw?
Shar.
Okay. Hey, Red?
His name and address.
Okay, hello.
Dave, your name and address first, please.
Yeah, it's Charlene Gallant, and I'm at 371 Cherry Street in Naugatuck. My question is regarding the elderly or senior tax credit that will be offered. Will that be offered per person? If there's 2 elderly or senior citizens in the house, it'll be applicable to each person? Or will it be one?
So it's per household and it'll be up to $600. In other words, if your taxes go up more than $600, you can get a $600 credit. If your taxes go up $400, you'll only get that $400 credit. But it's a credit in year 1 of $600, in year 2 of $300, and in year 3 of $150. And that's in addition to the elderly tax credit, which is a state program.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or concerns on the budget presented? Okay, our last section is going to be on the revenue. Our revenue includes property taxes, department revenue, state grants, state board of education grant, and miscellaneous grants. And the question, I'm sorry, I don't recall his name, the gentleman came out. The state of Connecticut receives, gives us $29 million towards the board of education, so approximately half their budget.
They also give them alliance.
Plus the alliance money, which is just kind of, total revenue, $137,380,325, and that represents an increase of 3.91%. That includes the 44.75 mill rate. Any other questions, comments? You're on good? You're good? I'm good? Okay. That's it?
Yeah, well, just say that if anyone does have questions about their personal situation, they can call the town hall, the tax office, Jim Goggin, the assessor's office, Shelby Jackson. I suppose you could even call me if you want, but we'll try and give you a more exact determination of what your actual situation is.
If there's, is not any other public comment, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:42. Also, what your question?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments.
Oh, sure, why not, please.
Okay,
Everyone gets a chance to talk today.
thank you. Appreciate it. Hi. Hi everyone, my name is Jim Hu. I'm at 718 High Street in Naugatuck. Earlier this year in January, I bought a house there, and I just moved in. at the time that I bought a house, the house, it was appraised at something like $100,000. And now under the new assessment, it went up to $180,000. So even though the mill rate went down, our tax rate would increase by, I haven't done the exact math, but maybe about anywhere from 45% or to 66%, depending on what the exact mill rate is. I heard the mayor mention that it was a tricky balancing act between, the reevaluation, everyone's reevaluation going up versus how much the mill rate is cut down. My concern was, as a first-time home buyer, I went for a starter home, something that is lower, that has a lower property value. And many of the houses residential houses that seem to be hit hardest under this new proposal are properties that are kind of lower value to middle value, that saw a lot of their numbers go up during the pandemic. Not only that, but I also heard that there are proposals being submitted for the elderly to reduce their tax burden. But I just want to voice my concern and my support for people who are younger in my generation, who are first-time home buyers looking for these properties that are a little bit less expensive, a little bit more affordable, that can or that are kind of not being helped by under these proposals.
So how does the comparison go between what you paid for your house and what it's valued at?
So are you asking about what the assessment?
Well, the assessment is 70% of the value.
Yeah, that's right. So the assessment is relatively close, I would say, to that figure.
You see, the problem is by law,
right?
It's all based on value. So your remedy, if you're valued too high,
right,
is to appeal that. If the town has valued your property, pretty close to what it's worth, then you have to pay based on that formula. Now, I think High Street, didn't we just pave it this week?
Yeah, you did. You did. I did see it.
For you, so that's the start, but that's part of our paving program at work that you can see on. We just did quite a few streets in the spring, more in the fall, even more next year. So your value goes up just with paving, if that is helpful. But what you're saying is there's an algebraic formula that determines what your taxes are, and it's based on the assumption that your property is taxed at its actual value.
Certainly, and I don't disagree with any of that. I don't disagree with any of what you're saying. But where it becomes a problem for me is this algebraic formula kind of hits lower income or lower valued properties and middle and properties value and middle income properties harder than it hits ones that are more expensive, right?
What it hits is undervalued properties. In other words, if something was undervalued for whatever reason, and now it went way up, and you get way over 40%, those are the ones who have the most difficult impact. I need to know more about your personal, numbers, but I'm not hearing anything that where I could say to you, don't worry about it, this is going to happen.
No.
It sounds like you're in the category where your actual value is pretty close to correct, and it becomes a mathematical calculation at that point.
It does, and the other thing that I noticed with that is, under these proposals, the taxes go up by maybe 40% or so, but the property taxes on my house is already significantly more expensive than that of comparably priced houses that I was looking at earlier in the winter when I was looking around and buying a home. Now, under this proposal, I would be paying close to double the property taxes for this place compared to a similarly priced house in some of our neighboring towns.
Well, it shouldn't be double. I don't know, I'm sure it went up, but it shouldn't be double.
Well-
Mayor, his property went up from approximately $4,796, I think you're paying now,
Mhm.
to, at the end of the 3-year phase, it'll be $6,952, so it is going
It went up
up
$1,200,
$2,100.
21.
And his property, the assessment has gone up 80%.
Well, that's the reason, right? The 80% is the reason, yeah. So the bad news is that there's nothing I can say that is gonna help you, except that your property, according to what we have, is worth maybe more than you paid for it. Or what's his property value of that thing?
One second.
But Mayor, the assessment came out before January.
Oh, yeah.
The new
So
total- new
he,
total is
unfortunately,
Mhm.
the assessment came out before January, but nobody told you.
Right?
That's part of the
That's part
problem.
of the problem.
That's a big part of the problem, is that the assessments came out before you bought your house,
Okay.
but nobody told you before you closed about the assessment.
Well, that time or about the proposed tax increases that's coming out.
But nobody
Under this
told you about
budget.
nobody told you about,
We got the house appraised when we bought it.
yeah.
Well, a large portion of your increase is based on revaluation.
Right.
Right.
And as you said, the assessment increase of my house increased by 80%, but the budget it didn't increase by 80%.
Right. So most of your additional expense is based on the fact that your property was valued way higher than what it was assessed in the prior revaluation. So, the notice was sent to the owner of the property, so.
Sure. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on any section of the budget as presented? You're good? You're good? Okay. You're good? Okay, then, we will close this hearing at 6:51 PM. Thank you for your attendance and participation.